Here are 10 moments that The Undertaker tried to end the lives of his WWE opponents, from Steve Austin to Paul Bearer, and a few surprises in between. The Undertaker, he has had his fair share of trying to take in souls, because The Undertaker and his supernatural character that spanned 3 decades was truly the greatest gimmick in the history of the wrestling business. Sure, people criticized him. Sure, people didn't get the gimmick at times. They thought it was wonky, but towards the end, people hold it in an iconic fashion. He was a rare guy who came in on top and went out on top, whether it was his debut at Survivor Series in 1990 or his last match, which was the Boneyard match at WrestleMania in 2020 against AJ Styles. The Undertaker has done it all, and let's get into our list. Number 10, it was burying Paul Bearer in cement for a second time. In 2020, on episode of SmackDown, The Undertaker, well, he was continuing his feud with Kane, and The Undertaker once again entombed Paul Bearer in cement, this time as revenge for Bearer siding with Kane. While clearly staged, the imagery was intense and over the top, and it at least got fans talking. Look, Paul Bearer at this time was in poor health, and so they needed to pull him off of television. He was in much worse shape. He was much older. I mean, heck, we're talking about 2010. This was The Undertaker's real decline in terms of full-time action. And it was also around the time that they made Kane the World Heavyweight Champion, but I digress. Number 9, it was crucifying Steve Austin on a 1998 episode of Monday Night Raw. The Undertaker famously crucified the top star by tying him to his signature Undertaker symbol in the middle of the ring. It was a shocking moment and emphasized The Undertaker's villainous and just absolute over-the-top ministry darkness phase of his legendary career. Some people thought it was a good angle, some people were outraged by it, but at the end of the day, it did get heat on The Undertaker, and it built up their infamous feud. Going into SummerSlam 1998, there was a lot of hype on that match, which, in my opinion, it fell short in terms of high expectations. Number 8, sacrificing Stephanie McMahon in 1999 on an episode of Monday Night Raw. As part of his Ministry of Darkness storyline, here we go again, The Undertaker kidnapped Stephanie McMahon and attempted to sacrifice her in a dark ritual, tying her to a cross-length structure. Steve Austin, well, he came out to make the save. This was at a time where we didn't know that Vince McMahon was behind all of these devilish acts and coercing into a alliance with The Undertaker to try to get Steve Austin rid of the WWE, right? And then we went through the Ministry of Darkness. Just a weird time in pro wrestling, no doubt. Number 7, electrocuting Shane McMahon. 2000, Raw is War. During his American Badass phase, The Undertaker strapped Shane McMahon to a gigantic electrical chair, threatening to flip the switch. While he didn't go through with it, the moment was a dark reminder of his unpredictable nature. This was still where he was trying to figure out this character, right? He knew he wasn't full dead man, but he also didn't know, do I be a full-time biker? In my opinion, The Undertaker was a much better heel as the American Badass compared to as a babyface. Like with the Undertaker Deadman gimmick, he was better as a babyface. But as a heel, definitely you had to go with the biker stage. Number 6, dragging Diesel to the Underworld. 1996, the Royal Rumble. During Diesel's match with Bret Hart, The Undertaker emerged from a hole in the ring and dragged Diesel beneath it. The moment was portrayed as an attempt to take him to the dark side. Now, this was the infamous The Undertaker standing up in the backstage locker room and telling Bret, not everything is about you, when Bret was complaining the fact that he felt like it would hurt his character, it would hurt his gimmick if he took Diesel's powerbomb finish before Diesel lost the match. Typical Bret Hart fashion and typical just weird backstage politics. But yes, The Undertaker took Diesel, aka Kevin Nash, to the other side, or the dark side of the world. News on the list number 5, throwing Mankind off of Hell in a Cell. In 1998 at the King of the Ring PLE, in perhaps one of the most iconic WWE moments, The Undertaker tossed Mankind, aka Mick Foley, off the top of Hell in a Cell. You've seen the footage. A 16-foot fall through the announcer's table remains one of WWE's most shocking and dangerous stunts. The reason that Mankind and The Undertaker started on top of the cell to begin the match was because Mankind felt that he could not top what Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker had done a year prior, and so why not turn it into a stunt show? He got tossed off the cell through the announcer's table, concussed, and just absolutely ruined. They restarted the match, and then accidentally, Foley went through the top of the cell, suffering the infamous tooth through the nose, and God only knows what other injuries that he had. Number 4, let's set someone on fire. 1998, Unforgiven in Your House, in one of their most heated and literal rivalries. The Undertaker trapped Kane in a casket, and, well, things got interesting because it was actually Kane that put the Undertaker in a casket and set the casket on fire. Now, they eventually did the infamous fire around the ring match, the Ring of Fire, right? But it was the Undertaker who actually clotheslined the Undertaker over the top rope, and Kane was set on fire. So the Undertaker literally set Kane on fire. Pretty infamous. Number 3, let's run it back with Paul Bearer, because it was the Cement Crept, Cement Crept. Say that 3 times fast. 2004 Great American Bash. The Undertaker faced the moral dilemma when it came to Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman threatened to destroy Paul Bearer, and in a shocking twist, the Undertaker himself pulled the lever, encasing Bearer in cement, and it was an act that blurred the lines between hero and villain for The Undertaker. He sacrificed Paul Heyman because he would not give in to the ultimate demand given by Paul Heyman at the time. That was done to write Paul Bearer off of television. That's exactly what they did, and they moved on with their lives. Hanging the Big Boss Man at WrestleMania 15 in 1999. After defeating the Big Boss Man in Hell in a Cell, The Undertaker, he ordered the Ministry of Darkness to tie a noose around the boss man's neck and hang him from the top of the cell. It was a chilling, controversial visual. For years as a kid, I could not figure out how they actually did this stunt without killing the big boss man. Clearly, he had a vest underneath his own vest, and they just hooked it up. And that was the way they did it, no big deal. He was hanging from his shoulders, not his neck. But at the end of the day, as a young child who grew up in the Attitude Era, I was absolutely appalled and just, I could not believe my eyes when I saw this stunt. Number 1, burying Stone Cold Steve Austin alive, 1998. The Rock Bottom in Your House event, it saw an intense rivalry between The Undertaker and Steve Austin go at it, because The Undertaker and Paul Bearer orchestrated a plan to bury Austin alive in the iconic Buried Alive match. And he tried to bury Austin several feet under dirt. Now, obviously, Austin is fine. He got out of it, no big deal. But the fact that you literally try to bury someone alive, that is crazy. Undertaker previously had matches with Mankind in these types of gimmicks. They're okay, but it's still weird. I mean, when The Undertaker returned in 2004 as the Dead Man, a year prior at Survivor Series, he was quote-unquote buried alive by Kane, bringing back the Dead Man gimmick.